Hey there. Did you know that what happens between heartbeats is very telling of your stress levels? Did you know that the heart has an electromagnetic field that is measurable and goes beyond the confines of your body? Would you like to learn a technique that reduces stress and balances the whole nervous system? Well, if you answered yes to these questions, then this show is for you because our guest, Stephen Donaco, is a spiritual counselor. He's a conscious business change agent, and he is very familiar and been trained in HeartMath techniques and many, many other techniques. He's also a coach. I am so excited, Stephen, for you sharing your gifts and your wisdom and all the research behind this. Thank you for being a part of the show. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Randy. It's always good to see you, and it's good to be here, and thanks for having me.
Awesome. I'm just so excited for you to share all this because, as most people know, I do a lot of heart breathing techniques whenever I do this show and with all my clients. So if you are new to the show, I want to welcome you. If you've been here before, I want to welcome you to the show, but you're also probably wondering who I am, what's going to happen today. My name is Randy Light, and I am a peak performance coach. I'm a hypnosis instructor, and I'm a healer. And for the past 11 years, I have literally hypnotized thousands of children and adults to break through whatever is in their way so they could be their best version of themselves. I'm the author of the book, The Essential Four, and the creator of the Essential Four system. And this combines hypnosis with coaching, and it gives you everything you need to break through whatever is in your way so you can be a peak performer and your best version of yourself. It's great for feelings of anxiety and depression, but it can help you be more intuitive and just be able to be your best version of yourself. So part of the reason I do this show and how I met Stephen is because we both have a passion to raise the consciousness of humanity and move us forward into love. And so we've done some work together before. So I'm even more honored that Steve's going to share with you some of his gifts and what he's also been doing lately. So before we get into the show, though, if you're listening to this, whether you're listening live or listening to a recording, say hello. Send some of those bubbles across the screen. Let us know you're here. Ask questions. We love the like buttons and the love buttons, and we love seeing those and feeling those. And let other people know about this too, because everybody during the Randy Light experience has some type of experience. Either I lead an experience or one of my people that I'm interviewing, because you can then incorporate what you learned during the show. So I hope that sounds good to you. All right, you guys, we are going to get into the show. Yay. Stephen, I've got a gazillion questions for you. So, but why don't we start with what is HeartMath?
Yeah, thanks, Randy. Oh, yeah, what is HeartMath? Right. So, whenever I've answered that question, when I've taught people, I say HeartMath. It's a science. It's a set of techniques. It's a research institute, because there is an institute of HeartMath. So I think it's all these things. But really what that means for us today is that HeartMath is a practice. It's a practice to help all of us with very simple techniques, help to bring ourselves into what's called coherence. And that's simply just a state of all of the systems in our body being in alignment, so that to your earlier quote, we can be the best version of ourselves and to perform our best at our best.
So if you've been on my show, you've experienced heart breathing most likely. I almost do it every single time. And so when we breathe, so why don't you share the technique before I ask this question? So go ahead.
Sure, yeah. So this is really, we can just do this. I mean, I invite everyone just to keep eyes open and simply, just become aware of your breathing. Just the inhale and the exhale. And then once you've gotten in tune with your breathing rhythm, bring your conscious attention down to the center of your chest and your heart space. So you're directing your attention to your heart space, and almost you conceptualize your heart as if it's a third lung, and your heart is actually doing the breathing, that it's inhaling and exhaling. And then just hold that thought as you breathe, that your heart is inhaling and exhaling. And now that's the basic of heart breathing. And then we add one more element to that, which is then to hold some positive feeling. It could be a feeling of love, of appreciation for someone, of care, of gratitude. So as you do that heart breathing, you bring in a positive emotion that you actually allow yourself to feel as you do it. And that's the basis for all of the other HeartMath techniques that derive from it.
Okay, so and the way I understand it is that then creates heart coherence, which we talked about earlier, which can be measured, which means the waves are cycling in a very similar, the top and the bottom, right? And you can go into that, what you said that I hadn't thought about is from doing that and getting our heart into coherence, our whole body then gets into coherence.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, you think of it, the way that when I've taught it is I say, think of your body as their instrument, and then think of it as like a stringed instrument, like a guitar, or a violin, what have you. And we know, and you don't have to be a musician to know that a guitar is out of tune. If a guitar is out of tune and somebody strums it and it's off, you know it's off. You don't have to be a trained musician just to intuitively hear that it's off. And so to bring a guitar into tune, you have to stretch or loosen the strings to do that. And that's the analogy I like to use when I talk about HeartMath, because what we're doing through that heart breathing is we're actually bringing all of our systems into tune or to coherence. So for, obviously the cardiac system, because we're talking about the heart, but also the respiratory system, because we're talking about breathing. But then that tuning continues through the nervous system, even the lymphatic system, the digestive system, etc. So when all of the strings of our instrument are in tune, we're actually we are in coherence. We're in tune.
Wow. Okay, so how long do we have to heart breathe in an elevated mood to have the nervous systems get balanced, all this in the lymphatic and all those systems?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good. So the answer to that question varies depending on what state anyone is in. So if you're really stressed out, and if let's say you've been in an argument with somebody and it really got you riled up, it might take a good 5-6 minutes of consciously doing heart breathing to get into coherence. If you're pretty much in let's say a quote unquote normal state, whatever that happens to be for you, and you're not particularly stressed out at all, you can come into coherence within like 30 seconds to a minute. So nice. Yeah.
You guys, if you're already liking this, I'm liking this, say hello, let us know you're here, ask a question, or say something and send some of those bubbles and those reactions. We love to see those. I love talking about HeartMath because what a simple, powerful, easy thing that we can do to help us feel better. And then if it's going to affect the field around us, you want to talk a little bit about then how it would affect other people too, Stephen?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, this is one of the really amazing things about HeartMath that I learned when I went through the certification training, was that our heart has got a very strong electromagnetic energy that it actually extends beyond the body. So if you were to, and there are instruments that can measure this, to measure the electromagnetic, and there's the illustration of it. That how that energy ripples out from the heart, and actually the heart has got a stronger electromagnetic energy than the brain does. So
cool.
So this practice of coherence optimizes that electromagnetic energy. So and other people around us can feel this. And we can feel it as well. And the analogy I've used here is that if you've ever walked into a room where people had just gotten done like some big debate or argument and everybody got all riled up, and you walked into the room immediately after that ended, you might say, I could cut the tension in this room with a knife. That you just might feel the tension lingering. That's that electromagnetic energy that's out of coherence from all of those people in that room. And so that's one way that we can prove it for ourselves is just pay attention when you walk into a space, a public space. Even it could be a cafe, or it could be the bus stop or whatever it is, and just notice what you're feeling. Like you experiment with feeling the vibe of that group, and if it feels off, chances are the individual people in that group are probably not in coherence. And then on the flip side of that, if it feels like if you're really comfortable immediately walking into that space in that group, everybody is likely feeling good and feeling these emotions that help coherence. Yeah.
Very cool. And do you think we're feeling it with our heart, or it's an intuition, or?
Yeah. Well, it's actually I believe it's a fully embodied experience. I mean, the heart is sort of the master of it, because that's where we're feeling the emotion. But going back to what I said about being coherent, like all of our systems are in alignment. If you're really nervous, you might feel your stomach, the butterflies in the stomach feeling. So, our whole body responds in some way to that.
Okay. Yeah. So how does this technique improve your spiritual practice, or do something for your spiritual practice?
Yeah. So I love having this conversation because I went through HeartMath certification training several years ago, and I was doing it when I was pursuing a counseling degree. So I went through their clinical training. They have two different types of certification. There's like a standard, and then there's a clinical, which really gets deeper into the science of it all. And I was a pastoral counselor. That's what I studied. So I was working with clients in a spiritual framework most of the time. And there was one client, I did my case study on using HeartMath in a spiritual counseling context. And that was fascinating because so many people who do spiritual practice are familiar with meditation. And it's important to understand that HeartMath is not the same as meditation. There are some overlaps to the benefits, but meditation actually creates a different kind of physiological effect in the body versus HeartMath.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So just a real basic one, like particularly in kind of, there's mindful meditation where you're really being very conscious of what you're meditating on. And then there's sort of dissociative meditation where you're just meditating really kind of to tune all sensory stimuli out. And if you're doing that kind of meditation, it could be very easy to fall asleep. You might start dozing off, and HeartMath isn't at all about that. So if you're doing the heart breathing practice, it's actually about balancing the autonomic nervous system so that we're feeling both relaxed and energized at the same time.
Nice. That's kind of like lavender. Lavender is an adaptogen. I would call it then an adaptogen because it can give you energy and relax you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Is that because when you heart breathe and in that elevated mood, because your systems start to flow in homeostasis, they're not working as hard, so you end up having more energy even though you've activated the calming nervous system as well.
You're balancing it. So the autonomic nervous system has got two branches, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. And just really basically, the sympathetic nervous system is about being aroused. It's sort of, if you've heard about the flight or fight mechanism in our body, that's the sympathetic nervous system kind of going on high. And then the parasympathetic nervous system is the part that is about relaxation and calmness, right?
I personally believe in almost all my clients that almost everybody lives in a stress state. They're in a constant state where that sympathetic nervous system is turned on. And so this is just a simple technique.
Yeah.
And so I know that when you do it, Teresa, hello. she says, good afternoon to Randy and Steven. Thank you. Thank you for saying something. You guys, we want to know that you're here. So say hello.
Yeah.
You comment if you've used heart breathing or meditation, say something about it. So I forgot where I was.
Talk about the clients that are all stressed.
Yeah, most people seem to live in that state. And if you can just do this simple technique. Now, okay, I know what I was going to say. So when I do it, when I hypnotize people, I have them close their eyes and keep them closed, right? I believe it's easier for people to relax and focus on other things, kind of like when they're meditating. I love the fact that you're teaching us to be able to do it anytime, anywhere, even while you're driving or whatever, with your eyes open. I think that's super cool. So what do you think is the difference? I mean, if you have more time and you're at home, is it, how do you feel about closing your eyes and doing it?
Yeah, you could, certainly you can. I mean, there are some of the techniques invite you to close your eyes for sure. So there's nothing wrong with doing it that way. You're achieving the different physiological result, which is fine. Your practice is about helping people to perform as well, and whenever we're performing something, whatever that something is, we're actually, most of the time, I would say, eyes wide open. We're awake, we're aware, we're present. And how can we become less stressed or less nervous when we're in the middle of some performance? And this is where the other HeartMath techniques help, because like you said earlier, we can do them eyes open. And most of them are intended to be done eyes open. So, because if you're practicing HeartMath while you're driving, for instance, you're not going to close your eyes on the road, but you can self-soothe through using a HeartMath technique while you're doing something as focused as driving, where you need to be present and aware, and aware of what's going on around you.
Although we call it highway hypnosis, our subconscious is pretty good at driving us home. Well, our conscious mind goes someplace else. But did you answer the question? So how does this help your spiritual practice? Like, how can it? Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So what I had said previously was that most people are familiar with meditation as spiritual practice, and the way that I worked with HeartMath as spiritual practice was to take that feeling that I talked about in the heart breathing, like when you're doing your heart breathing and you bring in a feeling of like care or appreciation. I would work with clients who were spiritually inclined, and then bring in, like, the love of God, literally, the presence of the Spirit, whatever you want to call it, and heart breathe that. And this would help them to be more aware of the principle of, let's say, omnipresence of the Spirit in every waking moment, rather than just in meditation. So many people go into meditation to become connected to Spirit or God or whatever they call it, and then when they come out of that, perhaps that connection is no longer felt. And my proposal with clients was that, well, using HeartMath as the technique, you could connect with whatever your higher power is, by whatever name you want to call it, all the time, or
and
more.
just like that.
Yeah, and just like that, exactly. So that was how I was bringing in HeartMath as an adjunct to one's spiritual practice, not as a replacement for meditation, but just as a way to enhance their awareness of spirit, more often throughout their life.
We thank you for that. And will you share some of the science behind HeartMath and hopefully it'll be a different one than I've said, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, sure. Sure. Well, so part of it was, I already referenced this earlier, where all of the different systems of the body come into coherence, and that can be measured, as you also mentioned. So there's a tool And I have the box for here, this thing called M-Wave, which is a desktop application, and you buy it from HeartMath, and you there's a little earlobe kind of reader that you hook up to it, and it plugs into your USB, and this is also available for like tablets, and as well as for your iPhone and Android. And you can actually measure the level of your coherence, and you referenced it earlier as like this wave. So the application shows, if you see a nice sine wave whenever you're hooked up to the application, it actually means your sympathetic and your parasympathetic nervous systems are in balance, because that's what that wave is indicating. If it's jagged, if it looks like kind of an earthquake is happening, we've all seen the seismographic lines. That means you're out of coherence. It means that those strings of the instrument of your body are out of tune. So that science is a kind of a combination of things that the HeartMath Institute has researched over the years, including like a EKG and EEG type technology, and then they put it all in this one specific application that is intended to measure coherence. So, but HeartMath, I think the HeartMath has done research on all this for 30 plus years. That's how far back it goes. And
Yeah.
Most of this research is available online as well. If you go to heartmath.com .org, most of their research is publicly available.
Yeah, and I share a lot of it during my shows. And when you and I run as ambassadors for the 1 Million Meditators, I like to share some of the research to prepare everyone to have this great experience, because something also happens when people meditate together, right? And their brainwaves start cycling together, and their hearts create coherence. So if there's more than one person, and then the fields interlap. So do you want to share anything about that what happens when you bring a lot of people together and they're all in coherence?
Yeah, so this is one analogy here is like if you brought people together in a room and you had them kind of like just chant together, like just audibly, you can hear if they're all in tune or if they're all chanting the same thing together, that will have a pleasant sound to it. And it's similar with electromagnetic energy. If you have people together in a room and we're all heart breathing, what's happening is not only are we enabling a personal coherence among the systems of our own body, but then that electromagnetic energy that I talked about that expands beyond the body actually then starts to tune into the other person's electromagnetic energy. And then and if we're in a room together practicing heart breathing, that's actually a social field that's happening. So you've got a personal field of coherence, and now with a group, we've got what HeartMath calls social coherence.
Nice.
And everybody, and again, this can be measured. Everybody's magnetic energy is in sync with everyone else's. And
what's fascinating is the research also shows that the person with the most well-organized, whether it's brain waves or heart coherence, have a greater influence on the other person. So if there's 20 people that are heart breathing and one person's having a hard time or came in a bad state, then we can uplift them with us being in a positive state.
Yeah, they're right. And they've replicated that many times. Small groups, and you have 3 people in coherence, and then you bring in a 4th one, and they will eventually, their system will align with the others.
Even if they're not doing the heart breathing?
I believe, even if they're not doing the heart breathing, I mean, all the more powerfully if they are. But again, it's like that thing, like when you walk into a room and you could sense the vibe. And if there's a positive vibe, you will feel the positive vibe, and it can't help but impact you physiologically. So.
People tell me that they get this warm, all kinds of things like that when they're near me or around me, or this warm feeling or something, and it must be something related to that. I mean, I love doing the heart breathing, and do it almost daily, and I'm sure you do too. And I incorporate it into everything I do. I think it's the coolest thing, and it's simple and fast. But before we get into, so you guys, if you're enjoying this, can you say hello, please? Hello. Whether you're listening live or to a recording, this is super important information and so quick and easy because it can help you and it can help the whole world at the same time. But Stephen has been doing some unusual things that I really want to talk about. He's part of what's called a humanities team, and it has something to do with Barbara Marx Hubbard and her legacy. So would you just talk a couple minutes about that before we get into, you guys, I just want to let you know, say hello and comment and say something and send some of the bubbles. And then we're going to get, as soon as Stephen's done, Stephen's going to lead us through a type of meditation to help us to reinforce what we've learned today and get in our systems in balance. But for now, Stephen, tell us about this humanity team, and you're a conscious business change agent, and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. So humanities team is it's basically a nonprofit, non-governmental organization. It was founded by Neil Donald Walsh.
Okay.
I think about 16 years ago. I've been involved for the last couple of years, but essentially its mission is awakening the world to oneness. And doing that within a generation.
Awakening the world to oneness.
The oneness.
That we're all connected.
Yeah, that we're all interrelated, interconnected, interdependent. And to do this in a generation, to really to enable the shift to what Barbara Marx Hubbard would call conscious evolution. That we as a intelligent species actually have the choice whether we're going to evolve or devolve. And to use all of our intelligence, all of our power, all of our innovation for good, and consciously doing that. So humanities team is that's the focus of the organization. And I personally got involved in what was called the Conscious Business Initiative a few years ago, which was a program that helped the business sector to operate consciously. That business could be a force for good, and to inspire and certify conscious business change agents.
Wow.
So I went through the program myself, and then I ended up directing it and facilitating it.
So you're facilitating what? So tell me.
Basically, it's an online course, and it's 12 weeks. And people come in to get basically trained and certified on how to implement what's called the Conscious Business Declaration. It's 7 principles of doing business consciously that was co-created by Humanities Team. So it's a training program, and essentially, for lack of a better way to put it, I was the instructor for it. So there are a series of pre-recorded videos that were created by our faculty. People like Ken Wilber, people like Barbara Marx Hubbard, people like Michael Bernard Beckwith.
Nice.
And more. And then we would meet every week for 90 minutes, basically, to do not only Q&A, but basically build a community of conscious business change agents. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Wait, let me say hello. Kate said, I don't know if you saw that, mega interesting. Looking forward to practicing this technique. Awesome, Kate. And then Kat, hi, good afternoon, she says to both of us. And glad you guys are part of the show. And so we've got the Kats and the Kates. And
yeah, thanks everyone for being here. We appreciate it.
So that sounds super cool and super fascinating. And why would somebody want to be a part of that?
There's so many people, and you, Randy, I'm sure you've come across clients who basically just get burnt out with their jobs. They've been in it for decades, and it's like, what does this mean anymore? What's the whole meaning of business? You think about it. I worked as a chaplain for a time, and I experienced many people on their deathbed, and nobody ever says, I wish I spent more time at the office. It just never comes up. So this is all to say that people really want to do meaningful work. They want to contribute to the betterment of humanity in a meaningful way, including in their jobs. And why should our vocational existence be any different? Why do we have to check out for 8 hours, go to something we don't really like doing, and then come back and then try to make the world a better place on our quote unquote free time? So the whole idea of conscious business is actually to create a business environment that is contributing to the greater good, the betterment of humanity as a whole, and where people can feel inspired, engaged, and feel like they're doing something positive through their work.
I would think that would amp up creativity, productivity,
Absolutely.
and sustainability.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean,
Yep. Those are all elements of it.
yeah, how cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. So you guys, we're going to do some type of thing. I don't know what you want to call it because I don't know what Stephen's going to do with us. All I know is that you need to stop what you're doing, whatever that is. And if you're driving, you cannot do this, right?
Right. We'll say if you're driving, please, pull over, or or you could listen, but don't get too focused inwardly because you have to be on the road. So.
Yeah, so stop what you're doing, because I think this is going to be a closed-eye process, and it's a great opportunity. It's a gift we give to you as a conscious business change agent. It's an opportunity for you to make change. So, Stephen, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Randy. Appreciate that. So, inviting everyone to become still. And you can close your eyes, or alternatively, if you prefer to keep them open, I would invite you just to gaze softly at some spot in front of you, and almost as if you're looking through the spot. And then just bring a full awareness to your embodied self. And just maybe start at the very soles of your feet and feel your feet firmly planted on the ground or on the floor below you. And then feeling the gravity of the earth just holding you on the spot that you occupy. And then next, become aware of your normal breathing rhythm. Just feeling your chest expand with every inhale, and it contract with every exhale. And if it helps you to be more focused, you can actually do the heart breathing during this practice, bringing your conscious attention to the center of your chest and conceptualizing your heart as if it were a third lung, doing the inhaling and the exhaling. And then from here, I just want to invite us all to visualize in our mind's eye a very small but powerful spark of light at the center of the chest. This is a brilliant light. And from a practical sense, we can understand this as the electromagnetic spark that literally causes the heart to beat. And it's also that center point from which the electromagnetic energy expands beyond our bodies. So as you focus on that spark in the middle of your heart, bring in a feeling of love, of appreciation, of gratitude. And then visualize the energy from this spark expanding even further out beyond your body. And by doing this, you're consciously bringing into coherence not only your embodied self, but you're expanding your coherence to touch those who may be in your immediate vicinity, but if not, even those who are further away. And even on this call, on this particular meeting right now, we can understand that we are all connected. And we might even, I invite you to picture a golden thread connecting us all heart to heart in a brilliant web of coherence. We could call this global coherence. And simply by practicing this attunement first within ourselves and then among one another who are gathered here right now, we are encouraging and supporting and helping to sustain one another through the power of intention, the power of those positive emotions that we choose to hold in our hearts at this moment, and through the absolute unconditional power of love that continues to radiate out and impact every sentient being on this planet. And just know that however you're feeling in this moment, this coherent state, you are taking this actively into the rest of your day. That through your holding of this positive emotion and through the support, this mutual support that we share right now in this web of connection, you take this into your next meeting or your next appointment or your next endeavor today. And you infuse that place, that space, and those people with the power of your intention, your positive emotion, your coherence. And then as we prepare to come back to our embodied selves, I'll just invite us all to take in one last deep collective breath together. Breathe all the way down into your belly. Fill it up completely. Hold that breath at the top for a moment, and then release it through your mouth with a sigh. And then when you're ready, open your eyes and be here now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hope you guys enjoyed that. I did. Welcome back, everybody. And say how that made you feel and start practicing HeartMath more and more. Stephen, you've been an awesome guest. As always, it's always a pleasure and honor to connect with you and love your peaceful energy. It's totally sweet and peaceful, and it's just delightful to be around.
Thank you, Randy. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So if people want to learn more from you or find out more about HeartMath or Conscious Business Change Agent or Humanitarians Team,
yeah,
can they get a hold of you?
Well, so my website is just simply dynako.com, dynako.com. Most of what I'm doing, if not all of it's there and linked from there. Or I'm happy to take emails too. So just my name, Stephen@dynako.com. It's STEPHEN @dynako.com. Email me. I'm happy to share more about Humanity's Team, the Conscious Business Change Agent training we do, and then my work with Barbara, because that continues. Barbara transitioned on April 10th. Everyone may not be aware of that, but she made her transition actually in the middle of the very last program I was co-creating with her, called the Evolutionary Ambassador Academy. And Barbara's vision was for that to continue, because she really wanted her work not only just to be something that was known academically, but something that was actually practiced to influence all sectors of society in a positive way, and to contribute conscious evolution to everything that we do, so that we as a humanity choose to evolve and to enable our own gifts and the gifts of others to making the world a better place. So
you got to work closely one-on-one with Barbara Marx Hubbard?
I did. She was, yeah, we were co-creative partners on this very last program of her life.
I want to know how that happened. Holy cow. But I guess that's later, after the show, so stay on the show.
Yeah.
All right, do you have any offers or anything you want to offer anybody?
Just, I would say, just if you're interested in any of those programs, any in the programming that I do, or if you're interested in just, I'm happy to offer even an introductory free session with HeartMath, and just in a spiritual context. If you want to take me up on that, email me. Just say you saw me on the show today, and we'll make that happen.
That can be online?
That can be online. Yeah.
Cool. Absolutely. And Kat says she'll definitely be practicing that. Cool. So, okay, you guys, and I have to share. So next Tuesday, it's going to be at 12 o'clock. The show again. This time the show is going to just be me, and I am going to do this. I'm going to share how to apply the quantum world of particles and waves to enhance your everyday life. So that's going to be one interesting show, but I try to make them all pretty interesting.
Nice.
And then eventually I'm going to change it after July 4th. It'll be on Thursdays, because there seems to be too many conflicts on Tuesdays for even me. So, but right now it's on Tuesdays at 12 o'clock, and please spread the word so that people can watch this. You can watch this on the Enlightened Living with Randy Light page on YouTube and podcasts, and listen to it. So thank you all. Thank you, Stephen, once again. Thank you all for being a part of this show. I wish you many blessings, and see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.